to the latest episode of the English video podcast from the U.S. Embassy. This podcast is COVID safety style, socially distant video podcast. I'm here today with Meghan, a diplomat family member in our embassy community, to talk about her fascinating background as an Olympic athlete and a cancer survivor, and how these experiences have shaped her life. Meghan, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So it's a real pleasure to have you here today to tell your story, because what you have done and what you continue to do really inspires me. I was especially moved when we talked earlier to hear how your background has helped you make you who you are, but also more than that, how you have made yourself from your background and made yourself so much more than that. So I thought maybe first, could you share some of your background and experiences with our audience? Maybe first tell us about the Olympics.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So I was a synchronized swimmer for 12 years of my life. I started when I was just 9 years old, and I had no idea where it would take me. I always loved swimming and I loved dancing. So my parents kind of put the two and two together and thought, maybe try this and see if it's something that you gravitate towards. So I started at a young age and instantly just fell in love with the sport and the artistry and athleticism. And I think I was naturally talented, but I also had a lot of hard work ethic. And it kind of snowballed into this huge, life change. And I was able to make Olympic junior national teams. So I would train with the team every summer, and then we would go to different international competitions all over the world. And then eventually, as I got older, I tried out for the 2008 Olympic team, and I made that when I was just 17 years old.
Wow.
So I was the youngest one on the team, and it was pretty life-changing. And I just had I met such amazing people and traveled a lot and obviously trained very hard. We trained for 2 years leading up to the Olympics. So I left home and moved to Northern California.
This was during high school then, and
I
grade school.
Yes, I had just graduated high school. I was doing independent study at the time because I was training full time, even as like a 15, 16-year-old. So I left at 17 and I lived in an apartment with one of my teammates. And we had training was our full-time job. So we got paid to be on the Olympic team and go to different international competitions all over the world leading up to the Olympics. So, and then the Olympics happened, we went. It was a very surreal experience. You work your whole life towards one goal, and it's like you're so focused on that. And then when it's actually happening, it's kind of an outer body experience. So yeah, it was pretty amazing and definitely a lot of great memories. And, there was definitely some hard times during training, but I think it definitely gave me the work ethic I have today and has really shaped me to become the person I am.
So how did that work? You're in high school. You said you were studying remotely by that point. What was a day in your life like during that time?
So my family lived in Southern California in Orange County, and my club team was an hour away in Riverside, California. So I would actually leave like on a Monday and go and stay with a teammate who was, in Riverside where our club team was. And I would stay with her for a few days during the week. So my parents didn't have to keep driving me back and forth. And so we would wake up in the morning early, and start practice at like 7 a.m., I believe. And we would train until lunchtime, go home, have lunch, do a little homework, and then get back in the pool for afternoon practice, and then come home and then do more homework and then go to bed and start it all over again. And at that time, I was probably practicing 6 or 7 days a week. So
Wow.
it was, yeah, even at, as a teenager, I did not have a normal high school experience. I didn't really go to the prom. I did go to prom one time, but other than that, it was very serious. I was very seriously focused on my synchro, career and the dream of going to the Olympics. So the girls on my team were my best friends, and we had each other, and we, went through a lot together. And but it was a very unique experience that I don't think many people go through. So yeah.
Not many people do synchronized swimming either.
No.
I find myself sitting here wondering, what is it like to do synchronized swimming? Why did you like it? Is it like
Yeah.
being on a team playing soccer? What's the, like, how does that feel?
Yeah, it's a super small sport. So I feel like once you meet another synchronized swimmer, you kind of know everyone in the world. But so swimming as a synchronized swimmer, I guess you would say it's like part gymnastics, part soccer because you're having to work together, part ballet because it's all about grace and aesthetics. It's just so many sports combined into one, and then you're holding your breath. You have to be a good swimmer, obviously. You're holding your breath for a long time, so it's a really dynamic sport that I think doesn't always get the credit that it deserves because it's so challenging. But the thing is, we're supposed to make it look so effortless and so graceful. But really, if you look underwater, we're not touching the bottom. We're moving our arms and our legs like in so many different ways to hold ourselves up. It's also like, cheerleading where they throw people in the air and they do flips. So it can be dangerous as well. But it's a pretty amazing sport that I was lucky enough to be a part of.
Wow. And so you worked hard, you got to the Olympics, and what happened after the Olympics?
Yeah, so I went in 2008 on the team as a member of the team, and after that, I knew I want to continue on to the 2012 Olympics. So, because I was still very young and I had a lot more left in my career. And I went to Ohio State. I swam on a scholarship for 2 years. So, Ohio State has a great synchro collegiate program. So, I went there, swam with the team for 2 years. And then in 2010, it was time to start training for the 2012 Olympics. So I moved back to California, left Ohio State, put my college, put college on hold and moved back to California and started training again with the national team, which, was leading up to be the Olympic team. So during training, when I was just in a normal day at practice, I started feeling this pain in my knee, and I thought it was just an overuse injury, something that you get from training too hard, and something simple and something small. And they did an X-ray. I was at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and they did an X-ray, and they found a very rare form of cancer called osteosarcoma, which was in my tibia. And, I was 21 at the time. And, super, super athletic, very healthy at the peak of my career. And they put me in this room and they said, they basically like gave me a box of tissue and was like, this is what we found on your X-ray.
Wow.
And I think, it's just in such shock because you never would expect something like that to be told to you. So it was, yeah, very shocking. And my whole team was, practicing, and I had to go and I had to explain what they just told me. So that's where we're at.
So what did that mean for you, and where did you go from there?
So immediately the doctor said, you need to take this image, this disc of the X-ray, and get to a major medical institution and get it looked at by like an oncologist to see if it was cancer. They had an idea, but they couldn't, couldn't confirm anything. So I flew back to Ohio, which was where they had top osteosarcoma doctors at the time. And my boyfriend at the time, John, who works here at the embassy, he was actually already in Ohio for his grad school. So he was in Dayton, Ohio, and I was going to be seen by the doctors in Columbus, Ohio. So I left my team. I said, I'll be back. I just have to go get this taken care of. I was the team captain. So they were all, looking at me for some sort of like reassurance that everything was going to be okay. And at the time I was like, oh, I'll just go, get the surgery, come back and be able to go, continue on with my team. So I get to Ohio and it was not what I expected, in the sense that it totally changed my life. And they told me I had osteosarcoma. I needed to go through chemotherapy for at least 9 months and have a complete reconstructive surgery on my knee to remove the tumor. And basically, life as I knew it was not the same. Fortunately, my family had moved up to Ohio. My boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, he was there with me getting treatment. So we all met, my whole family met together with that first day that I got there. And we all just kind of said, this is our goal now. Like, it's not the Olympics. It's getting you through this terrible disease this card that you've been dealt. Let's be let's be there for each other. And my family just like welcomed John into our family, and we started a new goal, which was to survive this cancer diagnosis, whatever that took. So.
And you did survive, but that was a rough year, I imagine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was very similar in some sense to what I went through in training. Cause I think when you have a goal, and this goal was different, it wasn't Olympics, it was beat cancer, you kind of get uber focused and you do what you need to do. You go to all the appointments, you do all the treatments, of course there were hard times, but luckily I had my family and my friends and my loved ones supporting me, and that just helped tremendously. So we got through it, and in 2011 was when I finished treatment, and I rang this bell that said, you're finished with your treatment. And right after that, my now husband, he proposed to me. So it was kind of like a happy ending to a really hard year. And yeah, it changed my trajectory of what I was planning to do. But that's, yeah.
So then what did you do after that? You've recovered. Did you go back to swimming?
I went back for one competition for fun. I thought I would be able to go back and compete at the level that I did, and in 2010, but because of the surgery and I had a complete knee replacement, it was very clear that I wasn't going to be able to move in the way that I thought I would, I thought I would have been able to. So I went for one competition with friends, and that was a nice, ending to my career, because it was kind of like all of these girls that I swam with reunited for a competition in 2012. So that was the last time I really competed. But it was amazing because it wasn't for a title or anything. It was just for the love of the sport. So after that, my husband and I were living in California, and I was now cancer survivor and a former Olympic athlete. And so I kind of just had a fresh start on life in some ways. And obviously going through cancer gave me a new perspective of, what I want out of life. And for me at that time, I really wanted to continue my education and finish my college degree, my BA. So I decided to go into teaching. So started in California, almost back to square one, at a university, and really just focused on that. And as a newlywed, we were excited to be living in this beautiful place in California, and I was excited to be going to school again. So it was like a fresh start in some ways, because so much of my life was synchronized swimming, and that was my identity for so long. So all of a sudden, I had a chance to explore other parts of myself that I, didn't know. I didn't know what that looked like, but I was excited to see what else I could offer the world.
When we spoke about this a little bit before, you reflected on how, as women, we're so many different things, we're so many different identities, all at the same time. And our experiences, you said it so eloquently, determine who we are. And so I wanted to ask you now about who you feel you are. Are you still a swimmer? Are you someone else? Do you wear one certain hat, or how do you think of yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, like you said, I think as women, we're so many different things. And my former life was, I would say I was an athlete, and then I was, had to go through the cancer experience, and I got through that. I think now I would say I'm a mother. I'm a mother of two children, a 2-year-old and
Beautiful
a
children.
5-month-old. And I'm a wife of a diplomat who has been able to, with his job, taken us all over the world, and hopefully more places in the near future. I'm a teacher. I'm in a classroom. I'm a leader to my students and a role model to them. Yeah, I think it's interesting when you go through such monumental experiences at a young age, the Olympics and cancer, and there's these huge life moments, and then afterwards you're like, okay, so now what? And I think, in my opinion, I'm always evolving, and right now in my life, I'm in some ways, more proud of the life I'm living now than I did, during the Olympics or in that phase. So I feel like I'm always changing, and these experiences that I've had have really given me the perspective on life that I have now, which is to really, enjoy life and build strong relationships with other people, and be a role model for young children in my teaching career. So I think I've used my experiences with the Olympics and with, going through cancer, to just add to my life that I'm living now. And I'm really excited about that.
Well, I just recently learned, your larger life story as we prepared for this podcast. And before we met, when we both arrived here in Amman a couple of years ago, and before COVID and these times. And I just knew you as this beautiful personality. Our children would sometimes play together. I didn't know these things about you. And yet now, as I learn them about you, I can see how they've shaped you into who you are, a wonderful member of our community and our society at large. And as I said before, really inspiring to me. And I think to all of our viewers, audience who've watched this podcast today. So thank you very much again for joining us. And I want to wish you well in your next venture, which I know you are soon leaving us here in Amman. Sadly for us, but happily for this next chapter in your life. If I may say,
Yeah,
will you tell our audience what you're going to be doing next?
Yeah, so I will be teaching at an international school in Manila in the Philippines. And yeah, I'm really excited for this new chapter, and, to add to my story, and experience the Filipino culture. And yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting. So thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you again, and best of luck. And we look forward to hearing more about your new ventures and successes and how you continue to evolve. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.